I'm tired of Usher. I wish somebody would come out and just like sue him. Like, we need Usher sued. No, we do. We need a victim to come out and be honest about him.
Been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
Signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So yeah, and we gonna go buck full crazy.
Then you take Justin Bieber from Lily White, Canada, and take him to the flavor of the Kitty edition. Get his ripped open.
Why would Diddy be tapping his kid in his chest to see if he wired? And asking him, are you wired? Why would he be confronting that kid? Why would Justin Bieber make a song about, what is it? I got smashed at a Diddy party or something like that? Why? There's reasons behind all this. So, where there's smoke, there's fire, Cam.
Had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
For years, he kept it all inside. The pain, the fear, the truth. While millions of fans watched him grow from a teenage sensation into a global superstar, very few knew what he was really going through. Behind the cameras, behind the interviews, behind the headlines, there was a much darker story playing out. Justin wasn't just struggling with fame. He was battling something far deeper, something he was too afraid to talk about, something that involved powerful people, powerful names, and moments that haunted him long after the spotlight faded. One of those names was Sean Combs, known to the world as Diddy. While the world focused on the glamorous side of the industry, Justin was living through situations that no young person should ever face. He stayed silent, afraid of what might happen if he told the truth. He pushed the memories down, hoping they would fade, but they never did. They stayed with him, quietly shaping his life, his choices, and his silence. Now, everything has changed. The investigations into Diddy are exposing a side of the music industry that many tried to ignore. Victims are speaking up. People are being held accountable. And Justin has decided that he cannot keep quiet any longer. This is no longer about protecting his image or playing nice. This is about truth. This is about justice. This is about healing. For the first time ever, Justin is ready to share what really happened. He is opening up about what he went through, what he saw, and how deeply it affected him. And he is not just telling his story, he is bringing the receipts, real evidence, real messages, real moments that connect him to a much bigger and much more disturbing picture of partying and trauma and more.
Happy birthday, Justin!
Hey, welcome to the family, John.
What he reveals is not easy to hear. It is raw, it is painful, it is honest. This is not just another celebrity story. This is a young man reclaiming his voice after years of silence. This is Justin Bieber finally saying, enough is enough. Back in the day, Diddy presented himself as a mentor, someone who could guide Justin through the chaos of the industry. But now, with federal charges hanging over Diddy's head and the disturbing allegations piling up, people are taking a second look at everything. Old clips, once seen as harmless moments between a rising star and a music mogul, are suddenly being re-examined with a very different lens. One video in particular has resurfaced and caused a major stir online. In it, Justin is just 15 years old. Diddy can be seen handing him the keys to a car, saying it would be waiting for him every time he came to Los Angeles. He then says Justin was staying with him for 2 days. On camera, it might have looked like an innocent gesture at the time. But now, in the middle of a high-profile investigation involving serious accusations like trafficking and abuse, that same video is raising serious concerns. Social media has been flooded with questions. People want to know why a teenager who was still finding his way in the music world was spending time alone with a grown man who now stands accused of horrific crimes. They want to know if anyone protected Justin or if he was just another young artist surrounded by the wrong people at the wrong time. Diddy's legal team claims he is innocent. He has pleaded not guilty. But the footage of him violently attacking Cassie Ventura, his longtime girlfriend, speaks volumes. Prosecutors say she tried to escape one of his so-called parties and was met with violence. That video, confirmed by major news outlets, has opened a floodgate of questions about what really went on at those events and who else may have been there. No one is saying Justin was directly involved in any of those situations, but the connection is there. The time they spent together is real. The questions are valid. And the internet is not letting this moment pass without digging into the past. When you look at that old clip of 15-year-old Justin smiling nervously as Diddy jokes about having custody of him for the weekend, it feels different now. The context has changed, the world has changed, and people are no longer brushing things off as harmless when there may be more beneath the surface.
Next year?
Yeah, when you get 16, you come down, you gotta, wear your seat.
I mean, I'm 15. You can ride in the passenger seat. I got my permit. Not yet.
No.
All right, 16.
No,
16.
Slow down. Let's slow down, Justin.
Okay.
Let's slow down, okay?
One step at a time.
But yeah, the keys is yours when when you get 16. You're good to go.
I'm good to go.
Yeah.
All right.
Then, when you get 18, you get the house. You get the mansion.
Okay. I get the mansion?
Yeah.
All right. So where are we off to now?
And where would you like to go?
I mean, wherever you want to go. Where are we going?
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, like, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. I have been given custody of him. He signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me. So and we gonna go full crazy.
Going crazy.
Crazy.
I'm taking this out tonight.
What you wanna do? What you wanna do over the next 48 hours?
48 hours. Let's go. Let's just go get some girls. Let's go hang with some girls.
Man after my heart. That's what I'm talking about.
Justin may not have spoken directly about that specific video yet, but with everything coming to light, people are listening more closely than ever before, and he's done being quiet. To really grasp how Justin Bieber ended up in these circles, you have to look at the foundation that was built for him, and the people who helped build it. Justin was just a small-town kid from Canada, with a big voice and even bigger dreams. He was still in his early teens when he caught the attention of music executives and ended up under the wing of Usher. At first glance, it looked like a dream come true, a global R&B star taking a young talent under his wing, a once-in-a-lifetime mentorship. What most people didn't realize was that Usher's journey to stardom had started in a very similar way, and it led straight through Sean Combs.
Actually, someone made reference to the fact that Diddy trying to get at Bieber the way he was trying to get at Bieber was looking a little predatory. And then Usher came in and discovered it and managed him and got custody of him and promised to look after him. And then he sent him to the diddler.
Long before he was a household name, Usher had also been a kid looking for guidance. He was only 13 years old when he moved in with Diddy for what was presented as artist development. But this wasn't a classroom or a studio boot camp. According to Usher himself, it was something else entirely.
Looking at this lawsuit, right, Lil Rod, he alleges that, Diddy told him personally that he had sex with Usher. And when you look at the lawsuit, even though they got Usher's name redacted, you could tell who it is because they describe him as the guy that performed at the Super Bowl.
Right.
So, we all know who that is, but how you feel about that, man?
Well, I mentioned that earlier, that he said about Stevie J. The Usher part, that's a touchy situation, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a certain feeling, and I felt a certain way when Usher got on Shay Shay. And I don't mean to mention other people's platforms, but he got on Shay Shay and he mentioned how great and how good Puff taught him and everything. You know what I'm saying? About the business, right? I know, and people know, that was around that in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bro, you know I know.
He once described the experience in a radio interview, and the way he put it, it sounded less like music mentorship and more like a chaotic introduction to an adult lifestyle. He didn't give exact details, but the message was clear. He saw things no child should ever have to see. He called it a learning experience, but there was an uncomfortable undertone in everything he said. At 13, he was too young to make sense of what he was watching. He was placed in a world designed for adults and expected to absorb it like it was part of the journey. That so-called training camp was not about chords and lyrics. It was about exposure. Exposure to excess. Exposure to control. Exposure to a culture where boundaries were blurred and rules didn't seem to apply. And while Usher tried to laugh it off years later, the truth is, his story was the first chapter in a pattern that would repeat itself.
Actually, someone made reference to the fact that Diddy trying to get at Bieber the way he was trying to get at Bieber was looking a little predatory. And then Usher came in and discovered it and managed him and got custody of him and promised to look after him. And then he sent him to the diddler.
Years down the line, Usher met Justin and helped shape his career the same way his had been shaped. He became a mentor, a guide, a protector. But in introducing Justin to the same world that had once consumed him, Usher may have unknowingly repeated the cycle. Justin, like Usher, was placed in close contact with Diddy as part of his early development, not just for a quick meeting or studio session, but for full weekends, one-on-one time, and extended stays. The public was told this was all part of the music business. But now, in light of everything that has come out, people are wondering what really happened behind the scenes. What kind of mentorship takes a teenager out of his home and places him into the private world of a grown man with complete control? What kind of training camp allows a child to be surrounded by behavior and environments meant for adults? What are these kids really being taught? Looking back now, it is hard not to feel a sense of discomfort. The signs were there, but no one was really paying attention. At one point, Usher was asked a very direct question. Would he ever send his own children to stay with Sean Combs the way he once did as a teen? His answer was clear: absolutely not. That response, simple as it was, says a lot about how his view of that time has changed. It may have been brushed off years ago as part of the artist's journey, but now that more details are surfacing, even those who once defended it are backing away. And then there is Justin, a teenager just getting his start, still full of hope, still figuring it all out. At 15, he appeared in a video with Combs that is now making the rounds again. In it, Diddy jokes about spending 48 hours with Justin and another boy. He says they are having the time of their lives, laughing about how they cannot reveal everything that is happening, only that it is every teenage boy's dream. When asked what he wants to do for the next 2 days, Justin answers with something about girls. At the time, it might have come off as harmless banter, just a kid trying to play along. But now, in this new context, people are watching with a completely different lens. It raises a real question. Why was a grown man making those kinds of jokes around a minor? Why were they being filmed and shared so publicly? Why did no one around him stop and say this is not okay? This would not be the last time we saw Justin and Diddy together. Several other clips have emerged. In one of them, Diddy calls out Justin for not staying in touch the way they used to. Justin replies that Diddy never had his number. It is an awkward moment, caught on camera, with Justin visibly unsure of how to respond.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh? You ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, I mean, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But you never really got my number, so.
Right, okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
Another video shows Diddy giving Justin an award at the American Music Awards. One more shows a birthday celebration where Diddy is present again. And perhaps the most unsettling clip is one that people say looks like Diddy is patting Justin down, almost as if checking for a wire. The moment is brief, but it feels tense. No one really knows what was happening, but people are talking. These moments, one after the other, are being pulled apart online. Some viewers say it is all being blown out of proportion. Others say the pattern is too strange to ignore, especially when you consider what Justin himself shared years later. In 2020, Justin gave an emotional interview in which he spoke about Billie Eilish. He said he wanted to protect her from the industry and from the kinds of things he had gone through. He broke down in tears. He did not name names. He did not go into detail, but his pain was real. It was the kind of emotion that does not come from a single event. It comes from years of confusion, pressure, and moments that no young person should have to carry. At the time, the interview was seen as heartfelt and honest. Now, some are watching it again and wondering what he was really trying to say. Adding even more confusion to the timeline is the fact that just last year, before any of the legal trouble began, Justin was featured on a track from Diddy's latest album. It was called Moments, and their collaboration was praised by fans. That was before the lawsuit from Cassie Ventura, before the disturbing video footage, before the federal raids. The lawsuit was settled within 24 hours, but the damage had already been done. Right now, Justin Bieber is entering a brand new chapter in his life. He is a first-time father. He has a baby boy at home. And like any new parent, his focus is on family, not the headlines. A source close to him recently told the press that he is aware of what is going on with Diddy and the serious charges against him, but that this is not something Justin wants to be consumed by. According to that same source, he has been living in what they described as a happy bubble ever since baby Jack was born. He is focused on fatherhood, on being a loving husband to Haley, and on protecting the peaceful space they have built around their family. And that is completely fair. After everything Justin has been through in the public eye, wanting to step away from the chaos and protect his peace is not just understandable, it is necessary. He spent his entire youth in the spotlight, carrying pressure that most people cannot even imagine. So if he wants to unplug from the noise and keep his attention on his son, no one should blame him for that. But even with that decision to stay quiet, the speculation around him is only growing louder. A recent video from his father-in-law, actor Stephen Baldwin, has only added fuel to the fire. In the short clip, Baldwin speaks cryptically about the calm before the storm, then mentions that there can be another calm after that storm. He does not say anyone's name. He does not explain what he is referring to, but the timing of it has caught a lot of attention. The internet has been trying to piece together what he meant. Was he talking about the situation with Diddy? Was it a subtle warning? Was he hinting at something about Justin that has not come to light yet? No one knows for sure, but people are definitely watching. The comments under that video are filled with questions. Some think Baldwin was trying to say something without saying too much. Others believe it was just a random thought with bad timing. But in the middle of everything happening right now, it is hard not to read into it. What is clear is that even though Justin is trying to keep his distance from the drama, he is still very much a part of the conversation. His past connection to Diddy is being re-examined. His silence is being interpreted in different ways. And now, his family is being pulled into the spotlight in ways they probably never wanted. It is a difficult position. On one hand, Justin deserves to enjoy this chapter of life as a father without being dragged back into the past. On the other hand, the questions surrounding his early years in the industry are growing more serious every day. People are not just talking about fame anymore. They are talking about safety, about power, about what really happens behind closed doors in the world of entertainment. And whether Justin wants to be involved in that conversation or not, the world is looking at him and waiting to see what he says next. Justin Bieber went through a lot, but the truth is, Usher may have gone through even more. And now, people are starting to question just how much Usher really knew. From the outside, it always looked like Usher was the big brother figure, the mentor, the one who discovered Justin and guided him through the early stages of fame. And to be fair, he did help shape Justin's career. He gave him a platform, introduced him to the right people, and helped him navigate the spotlight. But what no one really talks about is what Usher experienced before that, what he had already seen, and how that history may have shaped the decisions he made later.
I'm tired of Usher. I wish somebody would come out and just like sue him. Like, we need Usher sued. No, we do. We need a victim to come out and be honest about him. Because what I'm realizing is that he's gonna fake the funk until the victim, man. He's just gonna keep on sucking the devil's. And I don't know, like with a baby, that pacifier, sometimes you gotta pull it out. You know what I'm saying? And take it away, right? When the babies used to sucking on the pacifier. That motherfucker gonna keep sucking on that shit until you do what? Till you take it out the mouth. Now it's gonna scream and holler, but eventually it will get used to the fact that his mouth is no longer full with that object. And that it's time to just, learn how to live without it. He been sucking on Diddy's dick a long time. It's time for him to learn how to make this thing happen without the devil's dick in his mouth or ass.
You don't think if he sued, he'll just Lil Woody the situation and I don't recall? I don't recall.
No, because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious this shit is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They not seeing the victim. They not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Usher was just 13 when he went to live with Sean Combs. It was pitched as a learning opportunity, a chance to soak up the music industry from someone who had already built an empire. But Usher himself has admitted in interviews that what he saw during that time was wild. He stopped short of calling it abuse, but the way he described it, the environment was anything but safe for a child. There were parties, adult situations, and behavior that no teenager should have been exposed to. He said he did not fully understand what he was witnessing, but that does not change the fact that he was placed in those situations. If that is not exploitation, it is dangerously close. So when Usher later became a mentor to Justin, it raises a tough question. Did he see the same pattern repeating? And if he did, why didn't he do more to stop it? And people like Jaguar Wright have been asking that question for ages.
Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that. He had already been to the hospital. That situation that Gene was talking about. And you still took Bieber there. But you got custody of him first. Diddy had already tried. They wouldn't let him. Actually, someone made reference to the fact that Diddy trying to get at Bieber the way he was trying to get at Bieber was looking a little predatory.
Some people believe Usher was also a victim, that he had been so normalized to that world that he could not see how dangerous it really was. Others believe he knew exactly what was happening and still chose to go along with it. Either way, the truth is hard to ignore. Usher had already experienced that world before Justin ever showed up. He had been inside it. He had seen what went on, and he knew what it could do to a young mind. And a lot of people know this now, including Gene Deal, who used to be Puffy's bodyguard.
That was around that, in that time that Puff and Usher did have a situation. And that situation led Usher to the hospital. Now, I let Usher explain that to y'all. I let Usher tell that story. But how dare you say a man that groomed you, you gonna give him a pass? Bruh, you know I know. Let me reframe you on something. Remember Usher? We was at the Swiss Hotel. Puff had Kim in the room. Had one of Keith Sweat's baby mothers in the big room outside the master bedroom. He came outside in his robe. She gave him a fellatio right there. His back was turned to me. She gave him a fellatio. You knocked on the door. I came and opened the door for you. Puff went in the room. You came in the room and kissed that girl dead in her mouth. Now I'm telling that because you taking up for somebody that you know and a lot of more people know, didn't do you right when you was at Diddy camp. Y'all put it together.
And what you mean by Diddy count?
Remember? He was on one of the talk shows. The white guy with the curly hair. What's his name? The white guy with the curly hair. And he said, yo, would you send your son to Diddy camp? And Usher said, no. Ask him why he won't send him to Diddy camp.
And Gene isn't the only one talking.
Usher came in and discovered it and managed him and got custody of him and promised to look after him. And then he sent him to the diddler. Does that sound like a good guy?
It's horrible.
Does that sound like a good guy? Now that we know what Diddy's really like, what kind of asshole do you gotta be to take another boy, another talented boy, and put him in your place so it ain't gotta be you no more? Because that's what do. They get victims, and then once they get to a certain age and they get too old for them to enjoy them, they send them out to go get other young kids. Now, if Usher is a procurer, and if Usher knew what was gonna happen to any of those young children that he took to the Flavor Freak off, is he a good guy? Especially considering what happened to him, especially considering that he sat with Stern and Howard Stern said, would you send your kids to Puffy's Flavor Camp? And his immediate response was, hell no! So it's good enough for everybody else's kids, but it's not good enough for yours. Yours are just good enough to die in Lake Lanier with no real investigation. Got it? Like, these aren't good people!
All right, Jeff.
He's not good! He's a And the simple fact that Justin Bieber literally made a public statement and said, Usher asked me to do the Super Bowl with him and I turned it down.
Now, Usher had knowledge. That kind of knowledge comes with responsibility. And now that the public is connecting all these dots, many are saying that Usher's role was more complicated than it seemed. He may have been trying to help, but in doing so, he may have also passed Justin into the same system that hurt him. This does not mean Usher was intentionally causing harm, but silence can be just as damaging. Looking the other way can make you part of the problem, especially when young lives are involved. And the things Jaguar has been saying about this make a lot of sense.
Usher, I'm tired of Usher.
Oh, okay.
Goofy.
No.
Got your asshole ripped open and the only thing it inspired was loyalty? They ripped your ass open. Gene didn't say it. He said, check the records at the hospital. I'm saying it. You got your ripped open. Then you take Justin Bieber from Lily White, Canada, and take him to the Flavor of the Kitty edition. Get his ripped open.
And now, as these stories come to light, Usher's name is being brought up again and again, not just as a bystander, not just as a survivor, but possibly as someone who could have said something and didn't. Justin went through things that changed him forever. He has spoken about feeling used, feeling broken, feeling like no one was truly protecting him. And if anyone could have stepped in, it was Usher. He had already walked that path. He knew the risks. He knew what the music industry looked like behind closed doors. Behind the image of global superstardom, there is a deeper story that very few people ever saw. One of confusion, exploitation, and betrayal at a young age. Justin Bieber's rise to fame was fast, overwhelming, and full of powerful people making major decisions for him. He was still figuring out who he was while being pulled into a world most adults can barely handle. The decisions that shaped his early career were not made by him. They were made by adults, agents, managers, labels, people who were supposed to protect him but may have done the opposite. At a time when he should have been in school or figuring out life like every other teenager, Justin was being flown around the country country attending events, hanging around older men in the industry, and being praised for how well he handled the spotlight. But behind the cameras, behind the stage lights, there was a kid who barely had control over his own schedule, let alone the situations he was being placed in. People like to talk about fame as if it is a gift, but for someone that young, it can be a trap, especially when the adults around them care more about money and image than safety. An old video of Diddy and his own mother recently resurfaced. In the clip, Diddy kisses her on the lips, then goes on to describe her as single and ready to date. He brags about taking her to strip clubs and jokes about setting her up with a reality show. He laughs, she smiles, and it is all caught on camera. But viewers were not laughing. Many were disturbed. Some even called the interaction inappropriate, given the tone and setting. Even more troubling, another artist has gone on record suggesting that Diddy's relationship with his mother is not just unconventional, but deeply off. He claimed that Diddy treats his mother more like a romantic partner than a parent. And then he added another layer. He alleged that Diddy's mother once ran a modeling agency that may have doubled as something far more troubling. Behind the public-facing business, there was something else happening, something that involved women being used and exploited. If true, it would point to a generational pattern, a learned behavior passed down, shaped by early exposure to power, control, and possibly even abuse. These stories are not just rumors anymore. They are forming a pattern of control, a pattern of grooming, a pattern of manipulation that appears to go back decades. People are no longer just asking what happened behind the scenes. They are asking who was involved, who looked the other way, and who might still be protecting secrets that never should have been buried. Because when you look at all of this together, from Justin to Usher to family members and former artists, the image of Diddy that was sold to the public begins to crack. And what is underneath is not just disturbing, it is terrifying. At one point, being associated with Diddy was considered a stamp of success. It meant you had made it into the right rooms. You were in the inner circle of someone who shaped the sound of an entire generation. But now, that same association is triggering panic. Because this is not just about music anymore. This is about crime, about allegations of trafficking, about parties that are now being called something much worse. The people who once proudly attended Diddy's white parties are now distancing themselves. Some are trying to explain away their appearances. Others are going quite entirely. The word being whispered the most in Hollywood right now is freak-offs. That is the label prosecutors are using for the alleged private events where things reportedly crossed the line into illegal territory. And suddenly everyone is being forced to figure out which category they fall into. Did they go to a party? Or did they witness something darker? People who once called Diddy a friend are now rewatching old footage and second-guessing their own memories. One moment you are toasting champagne, the next you are seeing your name pop up in online compilations of every celebrity who ever stood near him. No one wants to be on that list, especially not now. Justin Bieber's name keeps coming up, so does Usher's. And what makes their involvement different is that they were just kids. This is not like the other celebrities who showed up as adults and left when they felt uncomfortable. Justin and Usher were teenagers, young, vulnerable, trusting the adults around them to look out for their best interests. And that is what makes the situation so heavy. Even if nothing happened to them directly, the fact that they were present in those spaces matters. No teenager should have to witness the kind of things being described in federal court documents. This goes beyond bad decisions. It speaks to a system that failed to protect them, one that may have even knowingly put them in harm's way. Hollywood is now having a conversation it has avoided for too long, not just about who committed the crimes, but about the people who stayed silent, about the handlers who allowed minors to be in the company of men with too much power, about who else might have been pulled into these circles under the guise of mentorship or opportunity. Insiders are saying Usher may be called to testify. He lived with Diddy. He saw the day-to-day. He was not just visiting for a weekend. He was part of the household, and people believe that makes him one of the few who may know the full truth. Justin's role is more complicated. He has not made any public statements beyond expressing shock at the allegations. His team says he is focused on his family, on his newborn, and on protecting his peace. But that has not stopped people from asking questions. There are too many resurfaced clips, too many moments that feel different now with the benefit of hindsight. So, what do you think? Comment down below and let us know. If you liked this video, click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to be the first to see my next video. I post updates like this every week where I uncover the secrets of your favorite celebrities.